These guys are the richest young masters in Korea. Wherever he goes, he has a group of fans around him. The eldest brother is Yoonmin. He has feelings for every woman. According to his grandfather, he is a womanizer. The second brother Ji-woon is lonely, stubborn. According to his grandfather, he is a hooligan. Seo-woo is a singer-songwriter, a unique figure in the music industry. According to his grandfather, he is a playboy. One day, the three brothers received a text message from their grandfather at the same time. The text message said that if they did not show up, their grandfather would freeze their credit cards. So the three of them drove home in luxury cars. But the person who summoned them turned out to be Secretary Lee Yoon-sung. Lee Yoon-sung gave each of them an invitation. They opened it and saw that it was their grandfather's 38th wedding. Ji-yoon angrily threw the invitation away and said he would not attend. Seo-woo also said that he would wait until his grandfather got married next time. Only Yoonmin agreed to go to the wedding venue. Moreover, he also planned to give his grandfather a big meeting gift. He went to the dance hall and bet with his friends that he would take the first woman who opened the door go to the wedding with him. A few minutes later, a girl wearing a raincoat walked in. The girl asked which customer ordered the pizza. Everyone couldn't help but laugh. The girl delivered the food to the customer, but the customer made things difficult for her. They said that they had to let the most beautiful girl deliver the food, and they even refused to pay the delivery fee. Yoonmin saw this and wanted to help her out, but the next second the customer was dealt with by the girl, so he could only obediently apologize to her, and her behavior was seen by Yoonmin, who was standing next to her. The girl's name was Ha-won, who had lost her mother since she was young. Her father then married a stepmother. She now lives with her stepmother and her stepmother's daughter, Yoona. But they don't treat Ha-won well. She has to do all kinds of housework. Her sleeping place is on the balcony, but she doesn't resent it because she was finally accepted into the university of her choice. In order to save up 4 million won for tuition, she has to do 10 jobs a week. That day, Yoonmin came to her. He wanted her to be his temporary girlfriend. In return, he would pay her 1 million won. But Ha-won didn't believe him at all. Ha-won then rejected his offer. Yoonmin wrote his phone number on her hand and told her to think about it before calling him. Ha-won thought she could make enough money for tuition by working part-time. But the next day when she went to visit her mother, she found out that because no one had paid the rent for 5 years, the urn had been taken away. She desperately begged the manager to put the urn back in its original place, and all of this coincidentally happened to be seen by Ji-woon, who was visiting her mother. Ha-won sat alone at the bus stop. Although she had always been optimistic and resilient, she was now in tears. So she went to Yoonmin and agreed to be his temporary girlfriend. This decision would completely change her life. The woman who had just spoken was hateful, but her heart was already blooming with joy. Not long after, Grandpa married his 38th wife. But what he didn't expect was that his grandson would appear at the wedding and even bring a girl in a white wedding dress. Grandpa was extremely angry. It was obvious that his grandson had come to ruin his wedding. Ha-won quickly apologized to him and told Yoonmin to apologize to Grandpa too. But Yoonmin, who is always stubborn and disobedient, suddenly listens to a girl, surprising everyone. But what they didn't expect was that she was Yoonmin's temporary girlfriend who he hired for 1 million won. Such a girl was looked at by the rich chairman. He told Lee Yoon-sung to investigate Ha-won's family situation. She lost her mother when she was young and now lives with her stepmother and stepmother's daughter. Her father drives outside all year round, only coming home once every few months. Her family is not well off, so they can only rely on herself to work to pay for school. After understanding Ha-won's situation, the chairman made an important decision. He told Lee Yoon-sung to take Ha-won to the villa. Ha-won asked the chairman why he was looking for her. He immediately said that he wanted Ha-won to live in the sky house to discipline his 3 unruly nephews. In return, he would pay for all of Ha-won's university expenses. Moreover, he could also fulfill any of her requests. Ha-won was very interested when she heard this, but she still felt that she was not capable enough to manage others, so she refused the chairman's request. Then she went to the convenience store where she worked. A group of reporters surrounded the door and asked if she was engaged to Yoonmin. When she was at a loss for what to do, Yoonmin appeared in time to take her away. Ha-won told Yoonmin that because of his lie, she could no longer have a normal life. Yoonmin said that in 5 minutes, her news would disappear. He called someone and said, "Cancel the news about my fiancé immediately. Otherwise, I will withdraw all advertisements." It turned out that with money, you can really do whatever you want. Seeing that the matter had been resolved, Ha-won got out of the car and left. At this time, she received a phone call. The other party said that her mother's ashes were taken away by her father. When she got home that evening, She asked her father why he took away her mother's ashes. She said that she had clearly paid $4 million in management fees. But the answer she received was, why spend such a large amount of money on a dead person? The stepmother who was by her side said that she had saved some money that could pay for the two sisters to go to college. Ha-won then discovered that her stepmother was extremely scheming. She told him that she worked part-time to earn money for her tuition and that she had to sleep on the balcony. But her father did not believe her at all. Her father said that she was looking for an excuse to separate her father and stepmother, so he slapped her hard. Ha-won turned around and left in disappointment. Her stepmother pretended to be kind and pulled her back, saying that her father and stepmother were just angry, and said that her stepmother told her not to take it to heart. Just like that, Ha-won carried her mother's ashes box and walked alone on the street. She did not know where to go. When she fell into despair, the chairman called. He said his offer was still valid. Sky Hall was open to her forever, so she went to Sky Hall, which Lee Yoon-sung had been waiting for. At this moment, the three young masters of the Tycoon also arrived. For the first time, Ha-won enjoyed things she had never had before. Not only did Lee Yoon-sung cook for her, but she also slept in a spacious and tidy bedroom. Ha-won lay on the bed for a long time, unable to sleep because she fell asleep on the balcony. She hugged the blanket and hid under the table. Well, it was still comfortable here. When she woke up, the servant had prepared a sumptuous breakfast for her. Lee Yoon-sung told her to eat first, saying that the three young masters had never eaten together. Ha-won looked at the food on the table and sighed that the life of the rich was truly luxurious. At this time, the chairman called on video. After a brief greeting, he gave her the first task, which was to get the three brothers to eat together. Lee Yoon-sung took out the contract and told her that every time she completed the task assigned by the chairman, she would receive a corresponding reward. Depending on the difficulty of each mission, the reward also increases. But once the mission fails, she is forced to leave Sky Hall. The most important thing is that love is forbidden here. Ha-won thought that it was normal for family members to eat together, so it was not difficult. But things were not as easy as she thought. Although the three of them were siblings, their relationship was not very good. Then Lee Yoon-sung came to her house to get her luggage. Her stepmother was stunned when she saw the name, Secretary Lee Yoon-sung of Sky Group. She quickly welcomed, but Lee Yoon-sung did not have any good feelings towards her. The stepmother did not believe that Ha-won had entered Sky Hall. Lee Yoon-sung took Ha-won's luggage and prepared to leave. The stepmother told her daughter Yoona to quickly come here to get acquainted. Yoona pretended to be innocent and cute, but Lee Yoon-sung did not want to look at her. Lee Yoon-sung took her luggage on the way back to Sky Hall, received a phone call and left. But the luggage was left on the side of the road. Ha-won went out and accidentally saw all her belongings fall into the water. She quickly jumped in to pick them up one by one. Just then, Yoon-min and Seo-woo saw her. They didn't understand why she was picking up trash. Ha-won said that these were all her treasures. Then Seo-woo ran to get a net and pulled her up. When she was about to pick up her things, Ji-won came over with a bouquet of white roses that had been swept away. It turned out that when he saw this bouquet, he suddenly remembered the bouquet Ha-won had brought when she visited her mother. Ha-won carried her luggage back to her room. At this time, she saw Ji-won's feet were soaked. Looking at the fresh flowers and her wet feet, Ha-won suddenly realized that Ji-won might have a secret that no one knew. Although they were siblings on the outside, their relationship was actually very discordant. They had never eaten together since they were young. All of this gave their grandfather a huge headache. So the chairman gave Ha-won the first task, which was to make the three of them sit down and have a meal together. Ha-won agreed comfortably after hearing it. So early the next morning, she went to Yoon-min's room. Yoon-min was so scared when he saw her, because Ha-won used her fist to threaten him. Yoon-min reluctantly agreed. Then she went to Ji-won, who was swimming, but Ji-won used the excuse of not wearing swimming trunks to scare Ha-won away. But what he didn't expect was that Ha-won came with his phone. She said that if he wanted to get his phone back, he would come have breakfast. Helpless, Ji-won could only agree. Finally, she went to Seo-woo. As soon as he heard that he was eating with Ha-won, Seo-woo agreed. So Ha-won personally went to the kitchen to prepare breakfast for them. The first person to arrive was Yoon-min, but as soon as he arrived, he was disobedient and touched Ha-won. At this time, Seo-woo also came over. Seeing that Yoon-min was also here, he said, "I won't sit down and eat with this guy." At this time, Ji-won's worst temper also came. The three brothers started to tease each other. The smell of gunpowder was too strong. In the end, they separated unhappily. Ji-won asked Ha-won to return the phone to him, but she still refused. So he hugged Ha-won. But when Ha-won wasn't paying attention, he snatched the phone back. Just like that, Ha-won's first plan failed. But she was not discouraged. She immediately came up with a second plan. She asked the chef about the three brothers' favorite dishes. Then Dixon selected the best ingredients and started cooking in the living room. The aroma immediately spread to every room. The three brothers were attracted attracted to the aroma into the living room. Looking at the fragrant grilled meat, all three of them drooled. Ha-won picked up some food and asked Seo-woo if she wanted to eat. Seo-woo took a look and went straight to her room. Looking at Lee Yoon-sung eating grilled meat, Yoon-min drooled. Ha-won said that these were his favorite Michelin ribs so he could sit down and eat them together. But Yoon-min told her not to waste her energy. After saying that, he turned around and left. Ji-woon couldn't help but look at the food. He slowly approached the dining table. Ha-won wrapped a piece of meat with raw vegetables and then brought it to his mouth. Perhaps familiar with Ha-won's personality, Yoon-min told his girlfriend to hit him, but the girl said that she couldn't even open a bottle cap. Yoon-min lost interest in this woman who didn't understand and broke up with her. After that, he called Ha-won. He said that he would help her complete the first task his grandfather gave her. The two went to a luxury goods store. After trying on dozens of outfits, Yoon-min showed off his financial strength as a rich young master. After that, Yoon-min took Ha-won to a restaurant to eat and coincidentally met Ji-woon and Hae-ji who were also there. After seeing them, Yoon-min turned around and left. In order to ease the conflict between the two, Ha-won pulled Yoon-min to stay and eat together. After getting Hae-ji's consent, the two sat down, but the atmosphere was not comfortable at all, but became more and more awkward. It turned out that Hae-ji and Yoon-min were childhood friends. She had liked Yoon-min since she was little, but she still couldn't win Yoon-min's heart. Yoon-min often used her as a tool to break up with other girlfriends, and every time she was hurt, Ji-woon, who had a secret crush on her, would stay by her side and comfort her silently. Hae-ji had always known Yoon-min's preferences very well. She asked the waiter to grill a little more, but Yoon-min was not moved at all. He said he wouldn't eat. Seeing that the atmosphere was a bit awkward, Ha-won wanted to eat something to ease the tension, but accidentally made a drink. Yoon-min pulled her hand and nervously asked if she was okay. Hae-ji saw it and became jealous. This was the first time she saw Yoon-min care about a girl like that. Ji-woon felt heartbroken seeing Hae-ji like that, but he didn't know how to handle it. While the two were in the bathroom, Hae-ji wanted to confirm Yoon-min and Ha-won's relationship again. She asked Yoon-min if Ha-won was really his fiancé. After receiving a positive answer, Hae-ji left in disappointment. After Ji-woon turned around and didn't see Hae-ji anymore, he hurriedly chased after her. He saw Hae-ji walking absent-mindedly on the road. At this moment, a truck sped towards her. Ji-woon, fearless of danger, rushed out to protect her. He angrily asked Hae-ji what she wanted in the end. She said she just hoped to be with Yoon-min. So a thought popped into Ji-woon's head. He hugged Ha-won from behind. Ha-won thought that Yoon-min was joking again, but when she saw that it was Ji-woon, she was startled. She tried to escape from his arms, but Ji-woon's strength was too great. But all of this happened to be seen by Yoon-min. At this moment, fireworks bloomed in the sky. It turned out that Seo-woo accidentally discovered that today was Ha-won's birthday, so he and Lee Yoon-sung had carefully prepared this party for her. The three brothers had a hard time sitting together to celebrate her. To commemorate this moment, Ha-won took out her phone to take a picture. Then she smiled and told them that today was actually not her birthday. As soon as she heard that today was not her birthday, Ji-woon stood up and left. But it didn't matter anymore because this was considered the completion of the first task the chairman gave her. The three brothers finally had their first family photo. To repay the chairman, he prepared tuition and a year's bonus for her. Ha-won wanted to refuse, but the chairman said it wasn't worth much. After receiving the reward, Ha-won brought her mother's remains back to their original place and said that she would definitely fulfill her mother's dream of becoming an excellent university student. When she got home, she saw the maid preparing food. She thought it was someone's birthday, but the maid told her that in a few days it would be the death anniversary of the chairman's children. Every year they prepared food in advance. The maid also told Ha-won that every year on the death anniversary, the chairman's three grandchildren did not participate. Lee Yoon-sung was also asking for the three brothers' opinions. He hoped that everyone could participate this year, but he still did not receive their consent. Seeing this, Ha-won suggested to the chairman that she would complete this task. Seeing her confidence, the chairman agreed. So Ha-won started to persuade them one by one, but it was useless. In fact, they all missed their father, but they all had their own hardships. In the blink of an eye, it was the anniversary. Ha-won had been waiting outside since early morning, but there was still no sign of the three brothers. When she was about to give up, Seo-woo's car suddenly appeared. Yoon-min also arrived. She thought Ji-hoon would come too, but Ji-hoon didn't show up at the last minute. She was disappointed and apologized to the chairman, saying that she hadn't completed her mission. While everyone was performing the ceremony, ceremony. The master of ceremonies only told Lee Yoon-sung that Ji-hoon had come to burn incense early. The flower in front of the photo was ordered by him. Lee Yoon-sung told the chairman about this. At this time, Ha-won was preparing to pack her luggage and leave Sky House. The time she spent with the three brothers resurfaced in her mind. She reluctantly left a message for the three of them and then dragged her luggage away. But not long after she left, her stepmother and stepsister arrived at Sky House. Ever since they found out that Ha-won was staying here, her stepmother and stepsister had hated her very much. So they used Ha-won's name to visit Sky House. Their purpose was to get close to Yoon-min. Ha-won's stepsister Yoon-ah went to Yoon-min's room and randomly touched with his things. At this time, Yoon-ah discovered Ha-won's uniform. Then Yoon-ah threw Ha-won's uniform on the ground and kicked it. Then Yoon-ah was still angry with her and picked up the ink bottle. At this time, Lee Yoon-sung discovered that his stepmother was secretly doing something. He asked who invited them, but Yoon-ah said that they were Ha-won's honored guests and did not need an appointment. After being kicked out by Lee Yoon-sung, Yoon-ah did not accept it, so she decided to take revenge. She went online to make up a story. To increase the credibility, she attached a photo of Sky House. After leaving Sky House, Ha-won went to find her best friend Ja-young. She remembered that Ja-young let her stay for a day, but Ja-young said that her house could only accommodate one person. Hae-ji walked into the coffee shop. The two were momentarily stunned. Ja-young saw that the two knew each other, so she immediately handed Ha-won over to Hae-ji. Seeing how pitiful Ha-won was, Hae-ji let her stay for a day. Ha-won saw a photo of Hae-ji and Yoon-min when they were young. Hae-ji saw it and shyly snatched the photo back. Just mentioning Yoon-min made Hae-ji smile. Seeing that Hae-ji liked Yoon-min so much, Ha-won immediately told her the truth. Ha-won said she wasn't Yoon-min's fiancé. The two of them were just in a love contract. She entered Sky House just to complete the task the chairman gave her, but now everything was over. Hae-ji was happy when she heard it. While sleeping, Ha-won told Hae-ji that tomorrow was her graduation ceremony, but she didn't have anyone from her family to congratulate her. Hae-ji agreed to go with her tomorrow. Ha-won was extremely happy when she heard it. The next day, the article that badmouthed Ha-won became a hot topic in school. Her friends all pointed at Ha-won, but she didn't know anything about it. Seeing that her friends all had family around, Ha-won began to expect her family to come, but her father didn't reply to her messages, which made her extremely disappointed. What she didn't expect was that the three young masters were on their way to school to prepare for her completely different graduation ceremony. In the classroom, the students were preparing to attack this girl. She desperately resisted, but it was completely ineffective. At this moment, Ji-woon ran over in time. The students saw that the matter had been exposed and immediately hid. Seeing Ha-won being incredibly shy, Ji-woon took off his jacket to cover her. The two were about to leave when the other group chased after them. Ji-woon protected Ha-won behind him and prepared to fight them. At this moment, Yoon-min also appeared in time. He told Ji-woon that if something could be solved with money, there was no need to take action. He took out a car key and said he wanted to give it to the other party, but the other party didn't believe him at all. So Yoon-min threw the key out the window. Yoon-min took Ha-won to a recording studio and prepared to officially propose to her. He had always been arrogant, thinking that Ha-won would definitely agree, but the answer he got was, "Let's end this relationship." It was all broadcast live. Everyone who saw it was shocked. Yoon-min walked on the street. Passers-by looked at him with scrutinizing eyes. He took out his phone to watch the video of his rejected confession that was posted online. At that moment, he wished he could find a hole to hide in. Then he went to the internet cafe and saw that his video was a hot topic and was even cursed by netizens. They said he was a rich loser. So he went to a plastic surgeon and wanted to change his face. But the doctor suggested that he grow his hair long and cover his face. Then he went to a psychologist. Maybe his first love could change his current state. And Yoon-min's first love was Hae-ji. For many years, he had treated her very coldly. On the other side, everyone was waiting for Ha-won to return as Sky Hall. They had already considered her as their family. At this moment, Ji-woon remembered a place. He drove to the convenience store and found that Ha-won was indeed there. But after he entered, he heard Ha-won crying. She said that she could no longer fulfill her mother's dream because she was kicked out of Sky Hall. She did not save enough money for college. Ji-woon sensed her hardship and told her to go home. Ha-won did not understand. Then Ji-woon said that the chairman's mission had been completed. He came to the anniversary of her death. Ha-won smiled happily after hearing this. The man just woke up and found himself on a plane. He clearly remembered that he was sleeping on the bed last night. He thought this must be just a dream. He made a fuss and told to wake up quickly. but the flight attendant did not say a word and pressed him onto the sofa. It turned out that after Ha-won returned to Sky Hall, the chairman of the conglomerate gave her some plane tickets to travel and said that she could bring a few friends along for the vacation. She didn't hesitate to choose to go with these three brothers. She quickly dealt with Ji-woon and Seo-woo, but Yoon-min, because of his rejected confession, still ignored her. At this time she remembered that Lee Yoon-sung had told her that once Yoon-min fell asleep, even if he was carried away, he wouldn't recognize him. So she quietly sneaked into Yoon-min's room and then reached out her hands to him. Then she invited her best friends Hae-ji and Ja-young. After arriving, Ha-won prepared an activity board, but no one was interested, so she went to find some fun by herself. At this time, Ji-woon passed by. After learning that Ha-won didn't know how to ride a horse, Ji-woon took her horse riding with him. After finishing, Ha-won discovered that the necklace her mother gave her was nowhere to be found. The two of them went looking for it together. Finally Ji-woon found the necklace. When Ji-woon took it out, Ha-won happily jumped at him, making him fall down. At this moment, the atmosphere was a bit romantic. After facing each other for a few seconds, the two of them quickly stood up, remembering what happened earlier. Ji-woon's chest started to feel hot. He used cold water to calm himself down. At this moment, Yoon-min came over. Ji-woon said 3 sentences to him and then left. But after he left, he found that his phone was missing, so he went back to look for it. At this moment, Ha-won happened to be taking a shower in the bathroom. He thought it was Yoon-min inside. When he pushed open the bathroom door, a bar of soap flew straight at his head. He angrily asked why he hit him, but when he heard Ha-won's voice, he immediately ran away in embarrassment. After Ha-won finished showering, she felt very hot. At this moment, Ja-young said that there was cold milk in the cupboard that could help reduce the temperature, so she took a few sips from the bottle. But after a few minutes, her face turned red, as if she was drunk. It turned out that what she drank was not cow's milk but a margarita. With the help of alcohol, everyone sat down to play Truth or Dare. The three brothers, who had previously had a bad relationship, were brought together by this fate. While everyone was having fun, Lee Yoon-sung decisively ended the game. At midnight, Hae-ji couldn't sleep, so she went for a walk in the park. She found Yoon-min sitting there too. She remembered when they were young, when they couldn't sleep, they would come here. The chair had their names engraved on it. Hae-ji had always loved Yoon-min deeply, so she took the initiative to kiss him. At this time, Yoon-min didn't choose to avoid. While drunk, Ji-woon also said his love to Ha-won. He also used hand gestures to express his love for her. Under the urge of alcohol, the two couldn't control themselves and kissed each other. The next day, when Ha-won woke up, she saw Ji-woon lying on the ground and suddenly remembered what happened last night. She was both happy and embarrassed. She hit her head with her hand and told herself not to think too much. But she accidentally stepped on a bar of soap. The sound echoed throughout the villa. When everyone ran over, Ha-won had already passed out on the ground. Everyone ended the trip early. When Ha-won returned to Sky Hall from the hospital, the three brothers fought to help her. But in the end, Ha-won asked Ji-woon to hold her crutches while she went back to her room. Not long after, she went to find Ji-woon alone and wanted to ask clearly about what happened last night. Ji-woon said that last night was his first time. Ha-won looked at him curiously and said that it was the first time I got so drunk that I couldn't remember anything. Ha-won was a bit disappointed. Then Ji-woon asked Ha-won back what about her. Ha-won said that she had fallen and had a concussion and couldn't remember anything. At night, Hae-ji came to visit Ha-won because she hadn't washed her hair for a few days. Ha-won wanted to fix her appearance but unexpectedly created a large-scale awkward scene. Ji-woon saw it and was both laughing and crying. Then he carried her out of the warm bathtub and washed her hair. After washing, he also used a towel to dry her. However, with such a strong hand, it was afraid that she would go bald. At this time, Ha-won accidentally touched Ji-woon's hand and the atmosphere heated up again. Ji-woon left shyly, but after he left, he saw Hae-ji crying. It turned out that Hae-ji took advantage of the time when Ha-won was washing his hair to go find Yoon-min. Hae-ji wanted to confirm what kind of relationship she had with Yoon-min, but he said that they were nothing. Yoon-min also said that if she continued to be like that, he would not see her again. So Hae-ji left heartbroken. Ji-woon knew that Hae-ji had been hurt by Yoon-min again. Ji-woon angrily questioned Yoon-min why he had hurt Hae-ji so many times, but Yoon-min questioned Ji-woon's qualifications to meddle in his affairs. When Hae-ji heard this, she took the initiative to stand up. Hae-ji went up and told Ji-woon, "Are you willing to accept me?" After hearing this, Yoon-min was jealous and left. Actually, it was not that Yoon-min did not love Hae-ji, but every time they met, he was cold to her. Hae-ji told Ji-woon that he didn't need to answer her right now. Wait until he thought it through and then tell her. Then Hae-ji sadly left. Ha-won called Ji-woon to give him the watch he forgot. She even forced a smile to congratulate him. him, so it could be considered that the two of them were officially dating. Then Ha-won sadly went back to her room. She looked for Ja-jung to confide in. Ja-jung told Ha-won that if a boy had a crush on someone for a long time, he might like another girl after a long time. Ha-won thought about it and found that besides Hae-ji, she was the only one left by Ji-woon's side. At this moment, she remembered what happened that night. Ha-won knew from the internet that if you want to guess whether a guy likes you or not, you have to see if he doesn't get angry no matter what you do. So she started to list some things to probe. When Ji-woon passed by, she threw the book over. Ji-woon thought she didn't do it on purpose and left. When Ji-woon drank water, she intentionally spilled it all over him. This time she was scolded by Ji-woon. In the end, she went to Ji-woon's secret room and deliberately messed up the things inside. Ji-woon saw the mess in the room and yelled loudly. He angrily went to Ha-won's room and asked her why she did that. Ha-won was angry and asked why he spoke so harshly to the patient. He didn't comfort her and didn't buy her anything to eat. Ji-woon knew he was wrong, so he left. At night, Ji-woon gave Ha-won a bag. Ha-won saw that inside was the bread she liked to eat and immediately showed a happy expression. The next day, Ji-woon took Ha-won out for some fresh air. The two went to the scenic area. Ji-woon picked up the glass of water that Ha-won had drunk and drank it straight away. At this moment, Ha-won remembered what happened that night and her heart suddenly felt hot. Ji-woon pulled her to his side and asked her if she had something to say to him. Just as Ha-won was about to speak, Ji-woon received a phone call. It was Hae-ji calling. Ji-woon said he would go there immediately. Halfway there, Ha-won told him to drop her off on the side of the road. She would catch a taxi home herself. She told him to quickly come find Hae-ji. When Ji-woon ran over, Hae-ji told him that something had happened to her father's company. Their house had also been sealed by the court. She had nowhere to go now. Ji-woon comforted her that everything would be fine. At this time, Yoon-min saw 2 missed calls from Hae-ji. He arrogantly said that he would wait until the third call to answer. At this time, he received a call from a friend saying that Hae-ji's family had gone bankrupt. He immediately called Hae-ji, but her phone was turned off. When he was about to go out, he met Ha-won, who had just returned. When he was about to explain, Ji-woon drove back and got out of the car with Hae-ji. Yoon-min was about to ask what happened when Ji-woon said that Hae-ji would temporarily stay with them. Since Hae-ji moved to Sky House, the atmosphere in the house had changed a lot. Seo-woo, with a messy mind, felt awkward when he saw Hae-ji. When the nanny cleaned up Yoon-min's red underwear, he would shyly run back to his room. Even Ji-woon, who had always been cold, became warm and gentle. The nanny exclaimed that Hae-ji had a very feminine, which caused the 3 tycoons to change like this. Ha-won felt uncomfortable when he heard this. She was clearly a woman too. Why was the gap so far? After Ha-won saw Hae-ji's elegant demeanor, she realized that the nanny had a point. She and Hae-ji were truly worlds apart. So she began to meticulously groom herself. But when Seo-woo saw her, he thought something had happened to her. Ji-woon thought she was still angry with him about something. Ha-won felt embarrassed and turned around and ran away. On the other side, Yoon-min heard about Hae-ji's father from his friend. Yoon-min also brought a letter Hae-ji's father wrote to Hae-ji. After returning home, Yoon-min gave the letter to Hae-ji. Yoon-min wanted to take this opportunity to apologize for missing her call, but Hae-ji said he didn't need to do that. She didn't need his help anymore. Seeing Hae-ji like that, Yoon-min threw the storage key to Ji-woon and he brought it back for her. Yoon-min asked Ji-woon not to tell Hae-ji. Ji-woon took Hae-ji to get the things. Ji-woon wanted to tell her the truth but was interrupted by Hae-ji. Hae-ji said she wanted to invite Ji-woon to dinner but he only wanted to eat instant noodles. When Hae-ji found out that Ji-woon often ate with Ha-won, she immediately became unhappy. She realized that Ji-woon's feelings for Ha-won and her were different. Ji-woon made an excuse to go buy coffee. When he saw the Valentine's Day gift, he quietly bought a box and put it in his pocket. As soon as they got home, they met Yoon-min and Ha-won. Hae-ji hurriedly explained that she and Ji-woon went to get the things. Yoon-min acted like it was okay and then went back to her room. Ha-won also left without saying a word. Ji-woon saw that Ha-won was still angry, so Ji-woon went to find Ha-won alone and apologized for leaving her halfway that day. He wanted to give her a Valentine's gift but kept hesitating and refused to take it out. Ji-woon invited Ha-won to go out for some fresh air the next day and he had something to tell her. Ha-won was as happy as a 3-year-old child. But the next day Hae-ji told Ha-won that she was going on a date with Ji-woon. Ha-won was extremely angry. It clearly that Ji-woon had said that he was going to take Ha-won out for some fresh air but he chose to go out with Hae-ji. Ha-won wanted to find Ji-woon to ask clearly but found the gift in Ji-woon Ji-woon's hand. Ha-won thought he was going to give it to Hae-ji, so she angrily turned around and wanted to leave. Ji-woon called her back and asked her what happened. Ha-won told Ji-woon not to do things that would make her misunderstand. After saying that, she left. But when Ha-won just came back, the nanny called her and said that a man claiming to be her father came to find her. Ha-won was agitated, thinking that her father had come to pick her up. But when she ran over, it was a strange man. This man said that he was her biological father who had disappeared for 10 years. Although she had heard her father say that she was not his biological child, Ha-won could not accept this situation at the moment. She went to her mother's ashes and cried. Ji-woon found Ha-won there, alone and miserable. Ji-woon said that he was very worried about her and hugged her to comfort her. Ji-woon told Ha-won that a year ago the chairman came to him and adopted him as the nephew, but he had never met his father. At that time, he was in the same mood. He said that if Ha-won was not prepared, then just let it be. Ha-won felt happy because whenever she was sad, Ji-woon would always appear by her side, and Ji-woon also understood her feelings. So he decided to be honest with Hae-ji, because Hae-ji was the first person to open her heart to him. He treated her well, but Hae-ji mistakenly thought that he liked her. He knew very well in Hae-ji's heart that he was just a substitute for Yoon-min, and Yoon-min's position in Hae-ji's heart was irreplaceable. Hae-ji sadly went to the bar. At this time, a man came to talk to her and invited her to drink with him. This scene was just caught by Yoon-min's friend. He quietly told Yoon-min. After hearing it, Yoon-min got angry and hung off the phone. He felt that he could not face Hae-ji, because when he was young, when he was playing with Hae-ji's brother, her brother was suddenly hit and died. From then on, Yoon-min always felt ashamed. He did not want to hurt the people around him, so he was always cold to Hae-ji. When Yoon-min knew that Hae-ji had an appointment with a strange man, he still appeared in time to take her away. Yoon-min blamed her for making friends with unreliable people. Hae-ji angrily told him to stop the car. Yoon-min went into a store to buy beer and drank it all in front of Hae-ji and said that he couldn't drive after drinking beer, and then lazily sat in the passenger seat. But he didn't expect that this would be Hae-ji's first time driving after getting her license. She weaved and weaved on the road. Originally, she should have turned right, but she missed a few sections of the road, so she just had to continue going straight. Yoon-min had a face that no longer had any regrets. Ha-won remembered the things Kang Young-jin did for her when she was little, so she decided to invite him to a meal. Kang Young-jin said that he wasn't living well, otherwise he would have come back to pick her up long ago. Ha-won saw that his clothes were torn and found an excuse to leave. She went to the mall to buy him a similar outfit, but when she returned, she saw Kang Young-jin rummaging through her bag. She couldn't believe her mother loved such a man. At that moment, Ji-woon brought a DNA test paper. Kang Young-jin started to panic. Ha-won tore it up herself. She firmly believed that this man was not her biological father. Then Ji-woon drove her out for some fresh air. He gave Ha-won a Valentine's gift. She opened it to see, but there was nothing inside. Ji-woon told her that the Valentine's gift that day was not for Hae-ji but for her. But the candy inside had all melted. His feelings for Ha-won were still intact, because the woman bought a tie. The chairman thought it was for him. When he saw that what she gave him was a shirt, his expression changed. He suspected that his wife was having an affair, so he ordered Lee Yoon-sung to send someone to follow his wife. But he didn't know that Lee Yoon-sung was her biological son. When Lee Yoon-sung followed her, he found out that she had a private meeting with the chairman's lawyer. The lawyer gave her the chairman's will. Her purpose was to help her son become the heir to the Hanyul group. Lee Yoon-sung told her to stop immediately, but Hwa-ja said that everything she did was for him. She didn't want her son to keep working for the Hanyul group. Of course, Lee Yoon-sung couldn't accept his mother's actions, but Hwa-ja's next action made him hesitate. He followed her to the orphanage and saw her buy a bunch of daily necessities for the children there. The children there all called her mother. He knew from the director that Hwa-ja would visit the children every week. Ever since she abandoned her son, she had always wanted to give her motherly love to these orphans. But even though dozens of children here called her mother, Hwa-ja could not replace her biological son in her heart. On the way back, Hwa-ja wanted to invite Lee Yoon-sung to have a meal together, but was refused. She even gave Lee Yoon-sung the thing she bought earlier as a belated gift. On the other side, Ha-won's father received a phone call. The other party told him to pay the fee when he found Kang Yang-jin. Only then did he know that his wife had secretly gone to find Kang Yang-jin. He went to Kang Yang-jin. From Kang Yang-jin, he learned that Ha-won's mother only opened a shop with Kang Yang-jin. The two had no relationship at all. The day the incident happened, Ha-won's mother looked for Kang Yangjin because of the shop. But at that time, the rented house suddenly caught fire. Ha-won's mother met with an accident while saving a neighbor, and the ring on her hand was the one the neighbor asked her to give to her son. After learning about Ha-won's failure, he felt extremely regretful. He found Ha-won to apologize for his previous excessive behavior. He only found out about his stepmother and sister bullying Ha-won later. He vowed to make them a real family. After returning home, he scolded the mother and daughter who were kneeling on the ground. The mother and daughter knelt down and apologized repeatedly, but he still forced them to move to the attic so they could experience Ha-won's life. On the other side, when the chairman was on his way back to the company, he accidentally discovered that Ji-woon and Ha-won were in love. He found Ha-won and gave her two choices: either take the money and leave, completing her studies, or choose to stay with Ji-woon but still break up in the end. Ha-won heard and didn't know what to choose. Looking at Ha-won's back as he left, the chairman remembered Ji-woon's biological mother who had also been chased away. Ji-woon's father criticized him for only knowing how to use money to fool others. After that, Ji-woon's father left Hanyul Group. After a while, he became depressed and acted foolishly. Looking at the ring his son left behind, the chairman remembered that Ji-woon had also once mocked him for using money to control everything. He wondered if he was right to do that to Ha-won. At this time, Lee Yoon-sung went in to report the situation. When the chairman turned around, he saw that Lee Yoon-sung's tie was the one his wife had bought that day. The suspicion grew even bigger. After that, Lee Yoon-sung still agreed to go out to eat with his mother. She held his hand and thanked him for accepting her. And this scene was just seen by the chairman who was following him. The chairman was emotionally unstable due to the shock, so he fainted. The love story of Cinderella and the prince was not blessed by the adults. After the love story of Ha-won and Ji-woon was exposed, the chairman forced Ha-won to leave Sky House. When Ha-won was packing up to leave, she received news that the chairman was sick and hospitalized. At this time, Ji-woon in a corner discovered a photo album that had been covered in dust for many years. He opened it and saw that inside were photos of his father when he was still alive. That's how he learned that his mother had also lived in Sky House. He planned to go find his grandfather to clarify everything. At this time, Lee Ji-woon's son called Ji-won to tell her that the chairman was hospitalized. Ha-won rushed to the hospital. Ha-won blamed herself, saying that because of her and Ji-woon's love affair, the chairman fainted. Hwa-ja took the opportunity to put the blame for the chairman fainting on Ha-won. Hwa-ja told Ha-won that the chairman had liver cancer and was waiting for a liver donor for a liver transplant. But Ha-won delays his transplant. Hwa-ja forces Ha-won to leave Sky House quietly and not let anyone know. Hwa-ja will help Ha-won hide the reason why the chairman fainted. Ha-won sadly leaves the hospital and passes Ji-woon, who is rushing up. Hwa-ja tells Ji-woon that his grandfather knows that he loves Ha-won and makes Ha-won choose between love and money. So Ha-won chooses money and leaves Sky House. Ji-woon doesn't believe it of course, but when he gets home he sees Ha-won preparing to leave. Ha-won tells him that she is just a hired worker. Ha-won thinks that Ji-woon is too naive when he thought that she loved him. Ha-won tells Ji-woon to let her leave. Ji-woon begs Ha-won not to leave. He says that if she leaves now, they won't see each other again. But Ha-won still left heartlessly. Yoon-min and Seo-woo also ran to the hospital. From Lee Ji-woon's son, they learned about their grandfather's condition. Yoon-min asked the secretary why his grandfather suddenly fainted. Lee Yoon-sung said he didn't know either. The doctor asked the two brothers to go for a checkup to see if they could donate a liver to their grandfather. At this time, Hwa-ja told Lee Ji-woon's son to hide the truth about the chairman fainting. She told Lee Yoon-sung that she didn't know when the chairman would wake up. Lee Ji-woon-sung looked at the chairman's position and recalled his childhood memories. At that time, his mother often suffered domestic violence. He could only hide outside the room and cry. His mother couldn't stand such a life anymore and left him. After growing up, he became an excellent taekwondo player. All these efforts were to protect the things he cherished. Thinking of this, he made a decision in his heart. Faced with Yoon-min's repeated coldness, Hae-ji decided to leave Sky House. After Yoon-min saw the message Hae-ji left, he regretted it and frantically searched for Hae-ji. He finally found her at the playground they used to frequent when they were kids. This place was filled with memories of the two of them. When they were kids, Yoon-min proposed to Hae-ji here. At that time, Hae-ji didn't agree and said she would tell him 10 years later. Today, 10 years later, Hae-ji said she couldn't marry Yoon-min because every time he suddenly disappeared, She missed him like crazy. After meeting him, he became cold to her, making her extremely desperate. When she missed him, Yoon-min said he couldn't accept her. He told Hae-ji that when Hae-ji's brother was in a car accident when they was kids, he was also at the scene. Because he was too scared, he chose to run away. He thought he was too bad and not worthy of Hae-ji. After knowing the reason, Hae-ji still chose to leave. She told him never to see each other again. On the other side, Ji-woon found a cafe where his mother used to go when she was young from the photo. The shop owner saw the old photo and found some papers that couples had pasted there. Sure enough, Ji-woon found his mother's thoughts written there through the papers from those years. Ji-woon finally knew that his mother left Sky House that year because of his grandfather's pressure. Thinking about the hardships his mother had to endure, Ji-woon angrily drove away. At this time, the head nurse told Yoon-min that the restaurant where his grandfather fainted called. They said that his phone was dropped there. When he picked up the phone, the manager told Yoon-min that Lee Yoon-sung and Hwa-ja were also at the scene, but they disappeared after a while. Yoon-min felt that something was a bit fishy, so he went to the company to find Lee Yoon-sung, but he was told that Lee Yoon-sung had not arrived at the company yet. Ji-woon called Lee Yoon-sung, but Lee Yoon-sung lied that he was at the company. Trantuktate Lee Yoon-sung dang no kung min. Hwa-ja wants to transfer her shares to Lee Yoon-sung. It will be effective when signed. With this number of shares, Lee Yoon-sung can definitely become the heir of the Hanwon group. Ha-won's father finds her and says that the ring she is wearing is not her mother's, but that the neighbor wanted to give it to the son in the fire that year. Ha-won gives the ring to her father and tells him to remember to return it to the rightful owner. Seo-woo then finds Ha-won and tells her that his and Yoon-min's livers are not suitable with their grandfather. The only hope is Ji-woon. He hands the phone to Ha-won and asks her to give it to Ji-woon. Inside is something related to Ji-woon's father. Ha-won opens the phone and sees the notes after Ji-woon returns home. Every day, his grandfather sends a text message to Ji-woon's father. Grandpa didn't know what to say, so he could only use this method to show his concern for Ji-woon's father. Ha-won found Ji-woon at the repair shop. She handed him the phone. Ji-woon was a little touched when he saw the message but didn't go home immediately. Ha-won told him that he was Grandpa's last hope. If he had any dissatisfaction, she hoped that after saving Grandpa, he would gradually remove it. At this time, Lee Ji-woon-sung appeared at the company's shareholder meeting. The mother and daughter teamed up with the group's shareholders to take over the company's chairman. Yoon-min met the group's lawyer at the hospital who was in Grandpa's hospital room. They discussed holding a shareholder meeting in front of the chairman. Hearing their conversation, Yoon-min found Lee Yoon-sung to criticize him for using any means for money. Lee Yoon-sung told Yoon-min that currently many people are aiming for the chairman's seat, but Yoon-min doesn't know how to keep the group, so Yoon-min has no right to say that he is the heir of the group. Yoon-min angrily said, "I will let you see that I have the ability to protect important things." So Yoon-min and Seo-woo decided to fight back. They split up to meet the shareholders of each department, hoping to make an effort to keep the Hanwon group that his grandfather worked so hard to build. Yoon-min has never cared about the company, but now he has taken on the responsibility that a man should take. At the hospital, the doctor told Ji-woon that his liver is compatible with his grandfather's so that surgery can be performed. But after the examination, they discovered that Ji-woon is allergic to anesthesia. After the anesthesia is injected, he might fall into a coma. So the doctor gave the choice to Ji-woon. Even though he knew that he might not wake up, Ji-woon still decided to have the surgery. At this time, Ji-woon watched TV and learned that the meeting to remove his grandfather was about to take place. So Ji-woon transferred his shares to Yoon-min and asked Yoon-min to help him protect his grandfather's position. At this time, Hae-ji found Yoon-min and confessed that she hoped he would not be ashamed of her brother's death. It was not Yoon-min's fault. Yoon-min had always been evasive, but this time he chose to protect what he cherished. The next day, the shareholders meeting officially began. Everyone cast their precious votes. Yoon-min nervously waited for the voting results. The final results began to be announced. The proposal to remove the chairman was overturned with 52% of the votes against. Yoon-min finally protected his grandfather's company. Hwa-ja was eventually betrayed by Lee Yoon-sung. At the hospital, Ji-woon was taken into the operating room. Halfway through the surgery, Ji-woon had an allergic reaction. Many doctors rushed into the emergency operating room. Ji-woon fell into a coma to save his grandfather. Ha-won silently accompanied him. When the grandfather woke up, he found out that Ji-woon saved him, but he didn't know that Ji-woon was in a coma at the time. Later, Lee Yoon-sung submitted his resignation to the chairman. The chairman didn't know the truth, so he gave Lee Yoon-sung a divorce petition and asked him to give it to Hwa-ja. Lee Yoon-sung told the chairman that Hwa-ja was his biological mother. Everything she did was for him. He would take responsibility and leave the group. Finally, the chairman found out that Ji-woon Ji-woon was in a coma. He was extremely sad. Ha-won told the chairman that she didn't need money or a future. She just wanted to be by Ji-woon's side. The chairman asked her if she could give up all her options for Ji-woon when she needed money urgently. If she can't take responsibility for her feelings, then don't choose to start. Seeing Ha-won meticulously taking care of Ji-woon, the chairman's heart was also a little moved. When he wanted to agree with Ha-won, Ha-won's stepmother looked for her. The stepmother said that her father was driving tired and crashed into the police. The other party demanded 6 million in compensation. The stepmother asked Ha-won to borrow money from the group's people. Ha-won fell into a difficult situation between family and love. In the end, she still chose her father. At this time, Ji-woon, who was in a coma, also woke up but couldn't find Ha-won's figure. At Sky Hall, Ha-won was also nowhere to be seen. Finally, he found Ha-won near her house. Ji-woon told Ha-won that no matter why she was avoiding him, he just wanted to be with her. Please don't leave. But Ha-won said that she came to Sky Hall only for money. She didn't fit into his world and wouldn't have a future. She told Ji-woon not to see each other again. Then she left heartbroken. Ji-woon returned to beg his grandfather to let him be with Ha-won. Otherwise he would regret it for the rest of his life. That year, his mother and father could not be together, so his father chose to do something foolish. He did not want that experience to recur to him. After hearing Ji-woon's words, the chairman fell into deep thought. In the end, the chairman gave Ji-woon's father's ring to him and he put it on the girl he loved. Ji-woon looked at the ring and felt like he had seen it somewhere before. He remembered that Ha-won was also wearing a similar ring. She said it was a relic that her mother left for her, and the anniversary of their mother's deaths were on the same day. So Ji-woon called the Relatives Association to ask for a list of the victims' relatives. The other party said that someone was also looking for him. After meeting him, he found out that it was Ha-won's father. It turned out that the person Ha-won's mother saved that year was Ji-woon's mother. The ring Ha-won was wearing was Ji-woon's mother's, who asked Ha-won's mother to give it to Ji-woon. Moreover, the two families held a funeral at the same hospital. Ji-woon remembered when Ha-won visited his mother holding a white rose in her hand, along with the white rose he gave to his mother that was identical to the one he gave to a little girl. The two also exchanged tokens with each other. At this time, Ha-won finally sat down to have a meal with his family. Her stepmother and sister also treated Ha-won well. At this time, they truly felt like family. Finally, Ha-won knew from her father that Ji-woon was the owner of the ring. The father advised Ha-won that if she really liked him, she should go ahead. So she put on those Cinderella high heels to find the person in her heart. Fate always coincided surprisingly like that. The two took out the tokens they gave each other when they were young. As long as it was a person, it didn't matter if it was a little late. In the end, the two put the rings on each other and swore that they wouldn't take them off even if they died. Yoon-min found out about everything Lee Yoon-sung did for the group and invited Lee Yoon-sung back to the group. The chairman went to Hwa-ja and gave her a bouquet of roses, wanting to start over with her. Yoon-min and Hae-ji visited her brother. He said he would definitely protect Hae-ji well and would not let her cry anymore. At the end of the story, Ha-won entered Sky House to live with Ji-woon, a life without love or worries. Thank you everyone for your support. See you in the upcoming movies.